The outpost on Valdris 9 wasn't supposed to be a graveyard for hope, but Sergeant Lyra Hale had learned that the universe rarely cared what things were supposed to be. She sat alone on the observation deck's edge, legs dangling over the precipice where reinforced glass met the violet twilight of an alien sky. Her helmet lay discarded beside her, and tears traced silent paths down her cheeks, the kind of tears that came when no one was watching, when the armor finally became too heavy to wear. 3 months. 3 months since the ambush that killed her entire squad. 3 months since she'd held Martinez's hand as the light faded from his eyes. Since she'd heard Chen's last joke crackling through a damaged comm unit. Since she'd watched the transport carrying the others explode into stardust. Command had given her a medal. What they hadn't given her was a reason to keep smiling. But she did smile. Every day. Because that's what Sergeant Lyra Hale did. She smiled through morning formations, smiled through debriefings, smiled when the new recruits looked at her like she was made of steel instead of scar tissue and grief. The smile was her final line of defense, the wall between the soldier everyone needed and the woman who was crumbling inside. Tonight, though the wall had cracks, a sound interrupted her solitude, a soft chirp, followed by the scrape of claws on metal. Lyra's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, but she froze when she saw what had found her. It was a Kyrix juvenile, no larger than a terrier, covered in obsidian scales that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. The Kyrix were Valdris 9's apex predators, 6-limbed hunters with rows of crystalline teeth and a reputation for tearing through steel bulkheads when provoked. This one, however, looked barely old enough to hunt independently. Its 4 primary eyes blinked at her with unsettling curiosity, and its translator collar, a gift from the human science team, glowed faintly at its throat. You? Leaking, the cub said, its voice synthesized into choppy standard. Face water damage? Lyra wiped her eyes hastily, forcing the smile back into place. I'm fine, just dust in my eyes. The lie felt ridiculous even as she said it. There was no dust on a hermetically sealed observation deck. The cub tilted its head, processing. Its secondary eyes, the smaller pair used for detecting thermal signatures, narrowed. Lie, humans leak when... Hurt inside. Saw in data files. Emotional distress. It pronounced the last 2 words carefully as if they were fragile things. You've been reading xenopsychology reports? Lyra asked, surprised despite herself. Kerr reads everything, the cub said, puffing its chest with unmistakable pride. Kerr is smart cub. We'll be smart hunter. It paused, then added more softly. Kerr's pack mother says humans are interesting. Weak bodies, but strong spirits. Trade everything, even smiles. Lyra's trained smile faltered. Trade smiles? Kerr chirped affirmatively and began rummaging through a small pouch attached to its collar. After a moment, it produced something and held it out with remarkable reverence. A stone, roughly oval, polished smooth by time and tide. In Valdris 9's dim light, the stone seemed to capture every color of sunset. Amber, rose, deep purple, and gold. It was beautiful in a way that defied logic, the kind of beauty that existed simply because the universe occasionally decided to be kind. Kerr's favorite stone, the juvenile explained, found in deep-singing caves where pack mothers teach cubs to hunt. Stone makes light dance, makes Kerr happy when scared. It extended the treasure toward Lyra. Humans trade, yes. Kerr gives stone. You give smile. Real smile. Not broken smile. Lyra stared at the stone, then at the predator cub who stood before her with such earnest hope in its multiple eyes. Something in her chest, something that had been wound tight since the ambush, suddenly loosened. Kerr, she said softly, you don't have to trade your favorite stone for a smile. The cub's bioluminescent patterns flickered with confusion. But humans trade. Humans smile for credits, for medals, for alliance. You smile for soldiers even when face water comes. Kerr studied. Kerr knows. You're right, Lyra admitted. We do trade smiles. We smile when we're supposed to, even when we're dying inside. She looked down at her hands that had held weapons, signed death notifications, and trembled through nightmares. Sometimes we forget that smiles can be gifts, not currency. Kerr considered this, its crystalline teeth glinting as it thought. Then, Kerr gives stone as gift, not trade. Gift because... The cub struggled with the words. Because pack mothers say strong spirits need tending, like young cubs. You are strong spirit human, but spirit is wounded. Kerr tens. The simplicity of it broke something in Lyra, or perhaps fixed something. She reached out and accepted the stone, feeling its impossible smoothness against her calloused palm. It was warm, as if it had been sitting in sunlight, though Valdris Nine's sun had set hours ago. Thank you, Kerr, she whispered. And then, without forcing it, without constructing it from duty and discipline, she smiled. A real smile. Small and fragile and genuine. Kerr's patterns burst into brilliant luminescence, cycling through colors that Lyra suspected meant joy in the Kirik's color language. Real smile. The cub chittered. Kerr successful. Kerr is best trader, no best gift giver in all the pack. Despite everything, Lyra laughed. It was a rusty sound, unpracticed and rough, but it was real. You're definitely the best gift giver I've met. The juvenile settled beside her, its scales clicking softly against the deck. Together, they watched the alien stars emerge in Valdris Nine's sky, a predator cub and a wounded soldier, connected by a transaction that wasn't a transaction at all. Kerr will visit again, the juvenile announced. We'll bring different stones. We'll collect real smiles, is good trade. No, good gift exchange. I'd like that, Lyra said, closing her fingers around the stone. It wouldn't fix everything. It wouldn't bring back her squad or erase the nightmares, but it was a beginning. A reminder that even in a universe filled with loss, there were still creatures who traded favorite treasures for something as simple and profound as genuine joy. As Kerr eventually scampered away into the outpost's corridors, Lyra remained on the observation deck, the stone warm in her hand and a real smile still lingering on her face. Tomorrow she would wear her armor again. Tomorrow she would be Sergeant Hale, unshakable and strong. But tonight she was just Lyra, a woman who had been reminded that smiles, when freely given, were worth more than all the medals in the galaxy.